So my wife just sent this post to me from Picky Eating Help. I just can't let it go without commenting on it because I think it's it might be good intentions by the author's account, which I doubt. I think there's an agenda here that this kind of corruption of values and truth is rampant from radicals and currently who is prevalent mainstream, who's all infiltrated the institutions, the schools, the universities, Hollywood, shows, movies, who tends to have the most influence on our culture right now are the radicals on the left. What we see habitually day in and day out is a restructuring of the values that make our citizens strong, independent, and useful, critical thinkers and doers. Individuals, as long as you're a human being and you have a body, you need to be physically capable of actions. The radicals, I'm not talking just lefties that have some strange thoughts like it's okay to kill babies. I'm talking even further than that. The radicals want to take values as simple as hard work, health and fitness, and destroy them. And it's as old as art of war. It comes from the top down, from the elites, sending the message of how to destroy a society. And it's old. This is nothing new. You got to remember this. So it's refined. The subliminal message, the psychological attacks are refined, and you have parrots repeating the coded vocabulary that these radical leftists want them to repeat. And they may not even know it because they've been brainwashed since they were 3, just like this lady's trying to do to children. The child asks, why is that person fat? There's two main reasons, 2 large categories, and then it subdivides from there. Okay. 2 large categories. Genetically, people can be predisposed to storing excess fat. All right. We've all seen the people that walk around with a 6-pack and they don't do anything to retain this 6-pack, usually in their youth, early in life. Okay. And then you have, and we actually have to go way back for this, at least to the 80s, to find this, where you have young people who are chubbier and they really didn't do anything to be, differently than the other kid to become chubbier, genetically disposed to gaining excess fat. The question she doesn't address is, how do we gain fat if we end up with more fat than we began with? Because today we have an obesity epidemic, and there's more child obesity now than there was in the 80s. Is that just genetics? Is it just because people are built differently? No, you just start with the first one that's obvious, is we're consuming way more sugar than any other point in history. And that addresses the question of what's the number one way to gain fat? How do people become fat? It's by consuming copious amounts of sugar, drinking sodas with sugar in it, and then throwing cookies on top of that, and then throwing carbohydrate-rich processed foods, pizzas, breads, and pastas that all have added sugar on top of it, not to mention the processed carbohydrate itself is a sugar. Okay. And the reason sugar is so important is because when you consume sugar and your blood sugar rises, people don't like to talk about this. I don't know why. They want to point at calories, which is minuscule when it comes to fat gain compared to sugar consumption. The reason you get fat is sugar consumption, not excess calories. Okay? Your body can handle excess calories as long as it's whole foods. It knows what to do with it. It knows where to send it. It knows how to utilize it. All right? Your body cannot handle excess sugar consumption. That's why we have at least, last I checked, 32, 33 chronic diseases caused by sugar. Diabetes. Cancer lives off of sugar. Okay? So let's get back to this post. Fat is how your body stores energy. Correct. Each person's body uses and stores energy differently at different rates, but it doesn't use and store energy differently. The mechanisms are the same. Like I was talking about insulin. Everybody has insulin. You eat sugar, you increase insulin. Insulin binds to the fat cell. The fat cell literally opens its door. The sugar goes in. Simplified explanation, but more or less that's what happens. All right. You don't spike your insulin. Fat cell doesn't open up. Sugar doesn't go in. You don't get fatter. Okay. This is the same mechanism for every single human being. We're unique in some ways, but we're also not unique at all in a lot of ways. Okay. And fat storage is one of them. Okay. So each person's body uses and stores energy differently. That's why people come in all shapes and sizes. Nothing so bad there. So far, so good. Let's go down to the right up here. Fat cells are a part of our body. Correct. They cushion our organs, keep us warm, and store energy for us. They also regulate hormones. They're a huge part of your endocrine system. Okay, so that's why we need to eat a decent amount of organic fats from avocados and red meats. I know red meats have been demonized, but that's a terrible idea to cut out red meats. And eggs. Okay, cholesterol doesn't make you fat. That was something started way back in the day by the sugar industry to win that war. Kellogg's in 1906 had commercials demonizing the egg, and they had no clue. The studies are horrendous today when it comes to cholesterol. Imagine how bad they were back in 1906 as far as proving consuming cholesterol makes you fat. It's just not true. Okay. So some people have, let's go down here. But people with more fat cells are discriminated against and stigmatized in healthcare jobs and every other area of society. That's somewhere in the magical ether that they're imagining. Like in today's society, it's like, come on. Everywhere you go, half of the individuals are overweight and or obese. 33% of the country is obese. Tell me we're discriminating against them when they make up a majority of the workforce. How would this even be possible? It's like, so this statement is ludicrous on its face. It's like no one's hating on overweight people. They'd basically be hating on themselves if this were true. All right. People not overweight don't by and large systemically hate on overweight individuals. Okay. Name me one law or regulation that prevents an overweight individual from getting a job. Okay. It doesn't exist. if we want our kids to be healthy, no matter what their size, and we want them to recognize weight stigma and work against it, we'll have to change the way we talk about fat. This is loaded right here. This is what I was talking about, coded vocabulary. This whole sentence comes directly from the left. Because you're going to find out the way that they want to talk about fat is not helpful, constructive. Because if you are obese, it is not healthy. It is dangerous. It's statistically proven, scientifically proven. It's sad. You don't see morbidly obese people living to 90. It just doesn't happen statistically. Statistically doesn't exist. There might be this outlier, a freak of nature. They exist in singles, but there's going to be lots of complications to carrying extra weight and or being morbidly obese. And the complications don't just come from the extra weight, it comes from the lifestyle that created the extra weight. All right? Nowhere in here is there a talk about honesty, integrity. That's one of the things that the radical lefts do not believe in. It's one of the values they want to destroy is honesty and integrity. It's okay. Come forward with the truth. I don't know how many people I've asked, how much sugar do you consume? Oh, not that much. I eat pretty good, is the standard answer. Well, that's not an answer. That's just an out. That's an out. The standard American diet, we eat sugar for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's no mystery to why we are fat. Okay, but that's not in here anywhere because that hurts feelings. Last summer we were on a hike, a person walked by and one of the kids asked rather loudly, why is that person fat? People come in all shapes and sizes. That belongs in the talk of being polite, not being rude, okay, which is a different conversation. It's okay to have that conversation. Don't ridicule people that are overweight, but you also need to educate that child how to avoid that fate. You got to teach them exactly how it happens, or you're setting them up for failure. And that's one of the goals. It's one of the goals of our enemy. They want to set us up for failure. They want to create individuals that are weak, that can't fight back. Okay. And if they're fat and overweight, they're weak. All right. Dumb. There's way too many degrees, way too many things taught in our institutions that are just a large waste of time. Most students who graduate from university have to be taught their job. Most. They have no clue how to do their job wherever they go. They have no skills. Okay. So they want us weak, fat, and dumb. All right. So people come in all shapes and sizes is one part of the conversation with a child. Don't embarrass people. And then we talked about no one likes to have their body talked about by other people. True. It's not a good thing to do. Okay. Maybe you should have an intervention with one of your closest friends who's a time bomb, who could have a heart attack any day due to the fitness level they are at. Okay. But with just strangers, it's like, it's usually not your place. Okay. Don't teach kids that. That's fine. Teach kids not to be rude to strangers. What I missed at the moment was explaining why that person was fat. They had more fat cells. This is not true. This is not true. We get larger because our fat cells get larger. We don't get fatter because we grow more fat cells. Okay, so that's biologically not even close to the mark. It's not because they have more fat cells. It is more likely because they have larger fat cells that have grown from sugar consumption. If I get fatter, it's because my fat cells get larger. It's not because I added more fat cells. All right. Now, if we're talking about somebody who is physically larger, like Shaquille O'Neal, 7'3", he's going to have more fat cells, just like he has more bone cells and more muscle cells. That's the only reason you have more cells. Okay. You don't have more cells because you're fatter. Just like we share facts about different foods, instead of calling them good or bad, and here comes the coded vocabulary, guys. You got to watch out for. Instead of calling them good or bad, we can share facts about our bodies without calling them good or bad. So this was just very poorly written to begin with. The second half of the sentence is talking about bodies, and the first half is talking about foods. Okay, it's like political manipulation. Just like we share facts about different foods instead of calling them good or bad. You better teach your child what is good or bad. Snake's poison is bad. Too much sugar consumption is poison. That's bad. Okay? That's why diabetic individuals end up amputating toes and feet, legs, fingers, and on up. Because the poison they have consumed their whole life has permanently damaged their bodies. Okay? Are you going to use a different word besides good or bad for this? That's just silly. It's immature. It's childish. It's an agenda. Okay? You better tell your kids what's good and bad. All right? Feed them meats and veggies and fruits from day one. Tell them this is human food. And the other junk is not even fit for your dog. Most dog owners won't feed their dog junk food because it will kill their dog. Guess what? It'll kill you too. Maybe slower, maybe because which is hard to believe, we actually might be more robust than a dog, which is amazing because I've seen a dog eat feces and live. But we can consume sugar and alcohol for a very long time and not die. But it is killing you slowly. The thing you tell a child when they see a fat person is you don't know exactly how that person got to where they are. But I know how to keep you from getting there. Let's have that conversation.